Hi VC, George here, back with another video. Thought I'd do 10 albums on side projects by band members, basically solo albums. The first one here is Mark King. Now, Mark King was a member of the British soul funk pop band in the early to mid 80s. Level 42, they were a great band, had many hits. And this is Mark King's first solo album, which at the time I found pretty hard to find. And it says on the back, this album contains some of the ideas I've had since I started playing. It was recorded and mixed with as much of a one-take feel as possible. So Mark King, so I was expecting really a wee bit like Level 42 with loads of bass. But it's not quite like that. And that's the track list. And there's only one track on the first side, The Essential, which is broken into 5 parts. And it's more sort of prog rock, I would say. Mostly instrumental. There's a couple of tracks on the B-side that are a wee bit more like Level 42 tracks, and I think Mark sings on a couple of them. So yeah, a wee bit away from Level 42. Good album though, really enjoyable. Mark King, oh I forgot to say, it's Influences, it's called, Influences. So the next album would be Duncan Mckay. And this is from, I think it's about 1978. Duncan Mckay was a member of Steve Harley, Cockney Rebel. He was a keyboard player in Cockney Rebel. And Duncan went on after maybe 3 albums with Cockney Rebel. He played for 10cc, Kate Bush, and also the Alan Parsons Project. So he got around a bit. Very good album, great keyboards, great soul album. And Steve Harley actually wrote the lyrics for 4 of the tracks. It's half instrumental, maybe half songs. That's Duncan there. Steve sings on one track, and John Wetton from King Crimson in UK, the band UK, sings 2 great songs on the album. So the album's called Score. It's from, I think, 1978 on EMI Records. Great album. Duncan Mckay. Next we have Eddie Wieder, Into the Wild. Now this is a soundtrack. It's a soundtrack to a Sean Penn movie from, I think, 2007. This was released. Bit C there too. Bit Sky there. And this is a lovely album. The booklet with it. Beautiful booklet with loads of great pics. I'll find some. There you are. Beautiful album. Eddie Wieder from Pearl Jam. I actually first heard Eddie Wieder on the soundtrack to a movie called Dead Man Walking, that Sean Penn starred in. Eddie Wieder, beautiful album. Into the Wild. Next was released on vinyl for the first time, Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, obviously. Kind can't remember when this first album was released. I think it was in the 90s. 90s, I think. Can't remember. But it's a great album. It was one of the albums that cost a lot to buy on vinyl because it was so rare. And you've got different stuff on here. You've got some tracks that sound a wee bit like, let's say like ZZ Top, quite rocky. There's a couple of ballads. And there's a great reggae track on it too, great on the system. It's Keith there, having a fag. Keith Richards, Main Offender, good album, good rocker. Next we have Richie Sakamoto. And Richie Sakamoto was in the band Yellow Magic Orchestra. This is a great album too. This was actually Iggy Pop. Oh, it's not much in there. Iggy Pop co-wrote one song and sings it. And Bill Laswell, the American guitarist, plays guitar and co-produced it. This is from 1987. Neo Geo. Richie Sakamoto, the keyboard player from the Yellow Magic Orchestra. Great album, very good. Next album from the same country is Misami Toushia. And Misami Toushia was in a band called Ippudo, who are a great Japanese pop band, bit electronic, but with great guitars too, so maybe look up their albums. This is Misami's first solo album. It's called Rice Music. And on this you have Bill Nelson playing some guitar, Mick Karn from Japan playing bass, Steve Jensen from Japan playing drums, Percy Jones playing bass, amongst other Japanese musicians. Seen Misami play guitar, I think, on the last Japan tour. Helped out in guitar. Great album. Quite experimental, I guess. Misami Toushia. Ippudo. Great musician. Next we have Mr. Partridge. And it's Andy Partridge from XTC, one of my all-time favourite bands. This was his first solo album called Lure of the Savage, Take It Away. A bit of a DIY album. It's actually a dub album of mostly of XTC's third album, Drums and Wires. And the Japanese connection on this is it outsold XTC's first 3 albums. It was although it didn't sell very well here, it sold really well in Japan. And it's basically Andy Partridge mucking around in the studio. It's a wee bit like if you got XTC's second album, Go, the 12-inch, I think it's 5-track 12-inch. On that, Andy does a dub of some of the XTC tracks on Go Plus. So Andy Partridge, great musician, a wee bit different this. Lure of the Savage. Next album is from Canada's Arcade Fire's Will Butler. Will Butler is actually American, from the USA, him and his brother. And he went up to Canada and formed the Arcade Fire. So it's a solo album from 2015, and it's basically just, it's called Policy, and it's a wee bit like Arcade Fire, just stripped down a bit. Good album. Will Butler. Next album is from the guitarist in U2, The Edge, and this is another soundtrack, Captive. Don't think I've seen the film actually. Now he does this album with, helps him out, Michael Brook, the Canadian avant-garde guitarist and producer. This is actually a really good album. The Edge, born in England, of Welsh parents, UK man, brought up in Ireland, Republic of Ireland. Great album. Michael Brook, and I think Sinead O'Connor actually sings on one track. The Edge. And last for today is another side project, but not a solo. This is The Creatures and Feast. And this is Sue and Budgie, her husband, from Susie and the Banshees. And again, this is another fantastic album. Stripped down, lots of marimba, and it had the hit single Miss the Girl on it. Beautiful album, experimental, and quite tribal. So this is The Creatures, Feast, Susie and the Banshees, side project. I think they've maybe done a couple since. Try the Girl, Miss the Girl, beautiful, brilliant single. So that's about out now, about it for now. 10 albums. Susie and the Banshees. Okay, VC, have a good weekend. It's beautiful out there. Away to play some golf.